The first dinosaur, Eoraptor, dawn thief. The very first true dinosaur to walk the earth was not a giant, but a nimble, insignificant-looking creature. About 231 million years ago, in the late Triassic of what is now Argentina, Eoraptor lunensis appeared. No bigger than a medium-sized dog, roughly 3 feet long and weighing 10–15 pounds, Eoraptor was a bipedal omnivore. It had a mix of teeth, some sharp for slicing meat, others leaf-shaped for plants. Its skeleton shows primitive features inherited from earlier archosaur ancestors, but also the beginnings of classic dinosaur traits: an upright stance, a perforated hip socket, and a long tail for balance. Eoraptor lived in a hot, dry world of ferns, cycads, and early crocodile relatives. It was not the only early dinosaur, but it is the best preserved and most complete of the very first. It came first, and from its small frame, all later dinosaurs would evolve. The second, Herrerasaurus, the first large predator. The second to appear, still in the late Triassic, about 231 million years ago, possibly slightly after Eoraptor, was Herrerasaurus ishigualastensis, also from Argentina. Herrerasaurus was a giant for its time, up to 20 feet long and weighing perhaps 500 pounds. It was a pure carnivore, with sharp, serrated teeth and grasping hands with 3 clawed fingers. Its hip bones had a unique mix of primitive and advanced features, making it a puzzle for paleontologists. Herrerasaurus shows that within a few million years of dinosaurs' origin, some had already become apex predators. It hunted small herbivorous dinosaurs and large rhynchosaurs, beaked reptiles. Its fossils were discovered in the Ishigualasto Formation, the same formation as Eoraptor, but Herrerasaurus represents a separate branch, perhaps the first great predator dynasty. The third, Colophysis, the Triassic sprinters. Third in line, about 220 to 210 million years ago, late Triassic, Colophysis boweri appeared in what is now the southwestern United States. This slender, bipedal theropod was about 10 feet long but weighed only 50 pounds, built for speed. Coelophysis is famous for its mass death assemblages, notably at Ghost Ranch, New Mexico, where hundreds of individuals were buried by a flood. It had a long, narrow snout and hollow bones, the name means hollow form. Coelophysis was one of the first dinosaurs to evolve a truly bird-like skeleton, foreshadowing the theropod line that would lead to T-Rex and eventually birds. It lived in packs, feeding on small reptiles, insects, and even its own young. Cannibalism has been proposed from fossil remains. Coelophysis was the third major player, spreading across Pangaea. The fourth, Plateosaurus, the first giant herbivore. Fourth, and the first truly massive herbivorous dinosaur, came Plateosaurus engelharti about 214 million years ago in Europe, late Triassic. Plateosaurus was a prosauropod, the forerunner of the giant sauropods. It reached 30 feet long and weighed up to 4,000 pounds, but it could walk on 2 legs or 4. Its long neck and small head allowed it to browse high vegetation. Plateosaurus lived in vast herds, as shown by bone beds in Germany and Switzerland. It had thumb claws for defense or stripping leaves. Before Plateosaurus, most plant-eating dinosaurs were small and bipedal. This dinosaur changed the game. It was the first to truly dominate the landscape as a large herbivore, paving the way for Brachiosaurus and Diplodocus millions of years later. The fifth, Dilophosaurus, the early crested predator. Fifth to appear about 193 million years ago, early Jurassic, Dilophosaurus weatherilli roamed North America. Made famous and wildly embellished by Jurassic Park, the real Dilophosaurus was much larger, up to 23 feet long and weighing 1,000 pounds. It had 2 distinctive, thin, semicircular crests on its skull, likely for display. It was an early theropod, more advanced than Coelophysis, but not yet as robust as later allosaurs. Its jaws were weak, suggesting it may have fed on smaller prey and fish. Dilophosaurus represents the diversification of theropods after the Triassic-Jurassic extinction event that wiped out many of their competitors. It came fifth, bridging the gap between the small Triassic hunters and the Jurassic giants. The sixth, Stegosaurus, the plated tank. Sixth, and one of the most iconic dinosaurs of all, Stegosaurus stenops appeared about 155 million years ago, late Jurassic. After tens of millions of years of evolution, the Jurassic saw the rise of huge herbivores with elaborate defenses. Stegosaurus was a thyreophorans, armored with plates and spikes. It lived in North America, reaching 30 feet long and 5 tons. Its brain was tiny, but its tail spike array, the thagomizer, was a deadly weapon. Stegosaurus came after the early sauropods and prosauropods, representing a completely different branch of ornithischian dinosaurs. It shared the landscape with Allosaurus and Brachiosaurus, but as a browser of low-growing ferns and cycads, it occupied its own niche. The seventh, Allosaurus, the Jurassic lion. Seventh, appearing about 155 million years ago, slightly earlier or same time as Stegosaurus, Allosaurus fragilis was the top predator of the late Jurassic. Up to 40 feet long and 2.5 tons, it was the T-Rex of its day, but lighter and faster. Its skull had a unique hatchet bite mechanism, using its upper jaw like a blade. Allosaurus fossils are abundant in the Morrison Formation of North America, suggesting it hunted in packs or at least congregated around carcasses. It came seventh, evolving from earlier theropods like Ceratosaurus. For 10 million years, Allosaurus reigned supreme, preying on Stegosaurus and young sauropods. It was the first truly massive theropod to achieve apex predator status across a continent. The eighth, Brachiosaurus, the skyscraper. Eighth, about 150 million years ago, late Jurassic, Brachiosaurus altithorax appeared in North America. This sauropod was a true giant, 85 feet long, 40 feet tall, and 60 tons. Unlike other sauropods, its front legs were longer than its hind legs, allowing it to hold its neck vertically like a giraffe. Brachiosaurus represents the peak of sauropod gigantism in the Jurassic. It came after earlier sauropods like Diplodocus, which appeared around the same time, but Diplodocus is slightly earlier at 154 million years ago. We need to order carefully. Actually, Diplodocus, ninth, appeared slightly earlier than Brachiosaurus. Let's adjust. Diplodocus first appears 154 MA, Brachiosaurus 150 MA. So Brachiosaurus comes after Diplodocus. But to keep flow, we can say 8th is Diplodocus, 9th is Brachiosaurus. Let's reorder. After Allosaurus, the next famous sauropod is Diplodocus, 154 MA, long, whip-tailed, horizontally necked. Then Brachiosaurus, 150 MA. So, the 8th Diplodocus, the whip-tailed giant. 8th, Diplodocus carnegie appeared about 154 million years ago. Up to 90 feet long but only 15 tons, slender for a sauropod, it had a whip-like tail that could break the sound barrier. Its peg-like teeth were for stripping leaves from ferns and conifers. Diplodocus lived in herds, and its fossils are found across the western US. It came after Allosaurus and represented a different body plan from the later brachiosaurs, low browsing rather than high browsing. The 9th, Brachiosaurus, the giraffe-like colossus. 9th, about 150 million years ago, Brachiosaurus altithorax appeared, as described above. It represents the high browsing adaptation, reaching leaves no other sauropod could touch. The 10th, Spinosaurus, the river monster. 10th, we jump to the Cretaceous. About 100 million years ago, early-late Cretaceous, Spinosaurus aegyptiacus appeared in North Africa. This was the largest carnivorous dinosaur ever, longer than T-Rex, up to 60 feet, but not as heavy. Spinosaurus was semi-aquatic with a crocodile-like snout, paddle tail, and dense bones for buoyancy. It came 10th, evolving from earlier spinosaurids in a world where northern Africa was covered by mangrove swamps. Spinosaurus represents a radical departure from typical theropods, a dinosaur that traded pure land dominance for a life in the water. The 11th Velociraptor, the feathered terror. 11th, about 75 million years ago, late Cretaceous, Velociraptor mongoliensis appeared in Mongolia. Despite its movie fame, it was only turkey-sized, 6 feet long, 30 pounds. It was a dromaeosaurid with a sickle claw on each foot and was fully feathered. Velociraptor came relatively late in dinosaur evolution, evolving from smaller Jurassic dromaeosaurs. It was intelligent, fast, and likely hunted in small groups. Its famous fossil locked in combat with Protoceratops shows its aggressive lifestyle. Velociraptor represents the peak of small theropod specialization. The 12th, Triceratops, the three-horned face. 12th, about 68 million years ago, late Cretaceous, Triceratops horridus appeared in North America. This ceratopsian was 30 feet long, 12 tons, with a massive frill and 3 horns. It evolved from smaller horned dinosaurs like Protoceratops, which lived earlier about 75 million years ago. Triceratops was one of the last and largest of its kind. It came 12th, just before the end of the Cretaceous, and shared its world with T-Rex. Its fossils are among the most common from the Hell Creek Formation, a sign that it was hugely successful until the very end. The 13th and last, Tyrannosaurus rex, the tyrant lizard king. 13th and last, the final famous dinosaur to evolve before the extinction. Tyrannosaurus rex appeared about 68 million years ago, same time as Triceratops, but slightly later in the fossil record, around 67 to 66 million years ago as the most derived form. T-Rex was the ultimate carnivore, 40 feet long, 9 tons, with a bone-crushing bite. It evolved from earlier tyrannosaurids like Daspletosaurus and Albertosaurus, which appeared around 75 million years ago. T-Rex represents the pinnacle of tyrannosaur evolution, larger, more robust, and more powerful than any predator before or since. It came last. For 2 million years, T-Rex ruled the floodplains of western North America, hunting Triceratops and Edmontosaurus. Then, 66 million years ago, the asteroid struck. The T-Rex, the last great dinosaur to appear, was also among the last to die. And with its death, the age of dinosaurs came to a close.